Hey guys! Spring is finally upon us. Well, it's been around for a hot minute now, but these videos take forever to make. It's still spring when this goes up at least. So what better way to celebrate the blooming of the flowers than by turning some into dragons? But I'm not going to use your typical tulips and daffodils or even the lovely cherry blossoms. No, I gotta give some love to all the beautiful native plants that grow here naturally where I live. Why native plants? Aren't those boring? No, they are so underappreciated and important, and there are so many really cool ones that I didn't even know existed that I really think need to get the spotlight for a change. Now, throughout this whole project I kept asking myself, why have I not actually seen these flowers before? I've lived in Illinois my whole life. You'd think I would have seen just one of these at least once ever. Oh, that's why. Plant native everyone, we've really screwed this place up bad. Okay, before I sink further into unrelenting dread at the reality of things, let's go turn some flowers into silly dragons. Now I'm going to be making 5 of these babies in total. And when I have to make many things about the same size, I make them all at the same time. I start by making each of their little bodies, necks, and heads. I wanted to have a pretty good variety with these guys because we support all body shapes and sizes here. So I take my cooler wool, wrap it up like burritos, and tie it together with some yarn to skip through the agonizing step that is felting the core of our creatures. Each of them will be stuffed with wire so that they can hold their little heads and bodies together. Now, let's meet the subjects of today's video. I'm not sure how we got there, but we landed on an Italian theme for these little beans. So here we have Francesca, Volo, Fabio, Fettuccine, and Grande. Before I start felting the bodies, I want to make all of their little eyes together first. And to do that, I draw them on paper with colored pencils and then glue on glass cabochons to the paper with UV resin. Any clear glue will probably work just fine here, but I like UV resin since it's quick and very strong. Now, after cutting out each of the little peepers, I can make all of their little heads. First up on the list is Francesca. Her flower is the red columbine. Very cute and unique little flowers. I build up her little cheeks to shape out the face and then give her a nose. For all of these guys, I decided to use hog noses as the inspiration for their faces, and that was the correct choice because they are such pure creatures with the most boopable of snoots. Once the face is shaped up to about where I want it, I put the eyes in place and trace around them with my scissors to cut out divots for the cabochons to slot into. And then I hot glue them in place. Now that they're on, I add more wool around the eyes to finalize the shape of the face and add in the mouth.
Anywhere you go, give it on. Anywhere you say, anywhere.
After the whole head is done, I start to make lots of tiny yellow sausages for the stamens on her face. Next is Volo. He is based on the Dutchman's breeches. Interesting name for a very interesting flower. This little guy was one of the two that was actually designed by my buddy Citric Acid. So shout out to them for making such adorable little guys. We've also decided on the name Volo, which means flight, and you'll see later that that's pretty fitting given how aerodynamic he will be. Much like the first, I make the face and glue on the eyes, and then I create the little flowery details on the head. Now you may notice the background changing a bit throughout this video, and that is because I completed Fabio and Francesca all the way through before deciding to make them all together. I'm new to video making, so just bear with me on that. I had to get a new mat because I spilled dirt on the old one, and that was kind of the last nail in the coffin on that poor old thing. So we're going with sleek black from now on. I felted out a couple flat curvy shapes for the petals that go under his eyes. Felting them on was a little awkward. I tried curving them as I went, very careful not to stab my fingers or the glass eye, which would definitely break my needle if I did so. I also made two more longer petals for above the eyes, which I stuck wire into so I could pose them. Fabio, and that name will make a whole lot of sense later once we get closer to completing him. He was also designed by Citric Acid and is based on probably the coolest flower that nobody ever talks about, prairie smoke. This flower was actually the whole reason I wanted to make this video because it's just so cool and more people need to know that it exists. It was actually originally going to be just Fabio here, but he was so small and cute that I lost control and ended up with 4 more. Oops. His face is pretty simple for now because I will wait until the very end to add his luscious hair. So for now he will be bald with just some little cheek fluffs. Grande. She is based off of the yellow trout lily. Now originally she was actually going to be much fluffier and based on the compass flower, but it turns out that was a summer flower and wouldn't work with the theme here, so trout lily it is. I kept most of the design elements the same, I just edited them a bit to work more with the lily design. There's a bit more going on with her face at this stage compared to the others. She has lots of fluff on her face, the majority of which is cut from felt ahead of time with some wool felted on top. Fettuccine, the graceful noodle based on the lovely Jacob's Ladder. Definitely a bit different than the Jacob's Ladder from Animal Crossing. Glad they finally fixed that egregious mistake in New Horizons because this flower deserves some love in its true form. I will admit I was so torn between this flower, garden phlox, and Virginia bluebells. I knew I wanted a purple scaly little guy, I just didn't know which flower to go with. I landed on this one though because I really like the long viney leaves they have, which makes for a perfect excuse to make a long boy here. So his face will stay very simple because most of the details come later when I scale this guy up. Now that they all have faces, I will go and start making their tails. I make those next on guys like this because oftentimes the tails alter the shape of the body, so I wait to put the legs on until after so that I know what I have to work with. We'll continue on with Fettuccine here and make his tail, which is by far the worst out of all of them because of how long and thin it is. I can't just wrap it up in core wool like I normally would do because it would add way too much bulk and I won't be able to get that thin viney look to it. For the tip of the tail, I felt that on first and cut a hole into it and slide it down to the end of the wire. I then start pre-felting longer flat pieces and wrapping it around the wire, felting it as I go. It'll be a little lumpy, but that's okay because I'll be adding leaves to it later, which should hide some of the imperfections. Cut out each of the leaves and felt them all along the tail. I cut them out connected like this because it gives me a better way to secure them on. Once they're on, I want to stiffen them up just a bit, so I lightly spray the whole tail with clear glue. Doing this also helps keep the fibers together and allows me to pose the tail without it all falling apart. Fabio's tail is a big flower bulb. I started by felting a large ball from core wool and attaching it to his bottom. I cover it with pink wool and cut out little shapes for the petal tips, as well as the leaves at the base of the tail. Back to Grande, she's rocking a small yellow tail surrounded by 6 brown stamens. Each stamen gets a wire and is felted on around the tail. I'm going to wait to do the rest of the petals until the legs go on, but I will bulk up the body just a little bit. Volo has a little shark tail, and for that I'll stick a wire in and wrap it up with core wool. Then I'll go over with the proper colors and add on all the petals. While doing this, I also add wool to the rest of his body so it's all one cohesive, sleek shape. Though I'm only going to add the white for the belly right now. The others will be added after the legs are made. Francesca is a little different. Her tails are a part of her petal cape, which I'm going to be making for her. And it would be a lot easier to pull off if I made the legs first and draped the petals over them on top. I start with flat half circles for the thighs and then add the feet onto the bottom. Similarly with the arms, I made 2 little sausages and put little pink fingies on the ends. She's got little feathers on her arms, so I cut those out of felt and felted them directly on. The color is slightly off from the wool I'm using, so to blend it in a bit better, I will be felting some wool on top. Now that the limbs are done, I'm going to turn this girl into a flower. The columbine flowers have such an interesting shape to them. It looks so flowy and elegant, so I decided to make them into like a little cape. I'm going to start with her 2 tails, which I cut out from red felt. I double them up and sandwich them over wire for posability and felt the 2 pieces together. Once together, I add some red wool on top, which will make them even more stable. After attaching the tails to the body, I cut out the shapes for the petals. I felt wool on top of these and add those on top as well. I complete the cape by adding white petals on the top like a fancy collar. The finishing touches include adding some more cut felt for the scales on her back. I include pink here so the transition from red to white is a little bit less harsh. And then I finish it off with some white scales on top of those. And that's one little cutie done. We still got 4 limbless guys to tend to, so let's give them all some legs. Volo and Fabio both have little raptor legs and arms. Fabio's arms have feathered wings as well, but much more like full wings. I take the easy way out and cut each of the feathers out from felt and glue them in place. Volo's got very large petal wings. Very simple here. Only other things for him are the purple fingies on the end. And that's actually it for this boy. Another one done. Grande, of course, has some stumpy, chonky legs. Her arm wings are also a bit different. They're less like wings and more just fancy fluffy sleeves. Her feathers are also cut out from felt, but only to help with size consistency. I cover all of them with wool just like her face fluff. After putting on the arms, I decided that she is way too compacted. She's got to extend a little bit here. So I slice her in half and stuff her insides with even more wool to fill in the gap. Then I cover it up with yellow wool and pretend it never happened. Fettuccine has thin gecko legs, which I make by rolling up 4 sausages and putting 3 round toes on each foot. After attaching them, I finish covering up the rest of him in green wool and tweaking the body shape as I go until I'm happy with it. Now all these guys have their limbs, so I will go back over the remaining ones, giving them their finishing touches. Starting with Fabio, all he's missing now is his fabulous hair, so I will accomplish that now with wool roving. His fur has some striping going on, which was very difficult to pull off while keeping the lines visible. I blended white and light pink to start off, but not fully. I left it partially unblended for a little bit of variation. Then I took thin strips of darker pink and stuck them into the fur tuft. I attach it by felting the midpoint of the tuft and folding it down to layer it. As I go, I'm trying my best to keep the stripes stripy, which doesn't work out in some spots, but overall I think most of it is there, so I'm happy with it. Now I go through the fur and trim it down to the right shape and length. And finally, to keep the fur from getting messed up from even the most minor amounts of handling, I spray a light layer of glue on top to hold it in place. And with that, this fabulous boy is complete. Next is Grande, who only needs her final petals to be added. Like before, I cut them out and cover them entirely in yellow wool. I position them around her butt and smooth it all out. I also go in and give the insides of the petals little freckles, just like the real flower has. And to top it off, I give her a row of orange petals at the base of her neck, and then that's Grande done as well. Lastly, we circle back to Fettuccine, who is going to take a little bit more effort to finish. I foolishly had the idea to cover him in lots of purple scales, so I spent an obscene amount of time cutting them out from felt and gluing them in place along his back and neck. Now that I got him all nice and scaled, I immediately go back and cover up most of what I just did with 3 giant felt flowers that I place on his shoulders and back. Originally these were going to be more like wings with the flower being the base of them, but I thought it looked a little bit weird, so they're just big flowers instead. After a quick glue spray down to keep the scales in place, the final little guy is done.